Hey, so one of the topics I wanted to cover on this channel has to do with tattoos. And you're probably wondering, why am I talking about tattoos? I have about maybe 33 tattoos. I've kind of lost track. A lot of my tattoos are not visible to people who see me out in public because I have a lot of clothes covering all those tattoos. But why do I want to cover this topic? Okay, I want to cover it for, who am I? I'm someone who knows absolutely nothing about doing tattoos. I'm someone who's only received tattoos as a customer. I know nothing about the process of how they're made, how the ink works, or anything. Also, it's like, well, who's my target audience for this video? Okay, well, honestly, I would like to aim this video at tattoo artists out there to talk about the tattooing experience. Now, maybe you're someone who's never had a tattoo. You don't know what it's like to go get a tattoo, but I'm going to tell you, I've had a lot of negative and bad experiences getting a tattoo. like, this isn't like to bash on anybody, but this is about what it's like when you are just the customer, when you know absolutely nothing about tattoos or what goes into it or how much work there is behind it. This has more to do with when you're just the regular customer and you want to get a tattoo, and what the experience might be like. Like I mentioned, I have about 33 tattoos. I kind of lost track of how many exactly, but I have them in various parts of my body. So a lot of times people say, like, oh, does one part hurt more than another? Another thing that I kind of want to address is, for anyone who's watched some of my other videos, I've been talking about being on a weight loss journey. Sometimes people wonder, like, oh, does it make a difference if you get a tattoo and then you lose a lot of weight? Does the tattoo, like, change shape in any way? Or should someone, wait until they've lost weight before they get the tattoo? These are all kind of questions I've heard people ask before. But okay, so in my situation, all of the tattoos I've gotten have been when I was extremely thin. Since I've put on a lot of weight, it's not like the tattoo gets all like stretched out or anything like that. But there is sometimes a difference between, I've noticed, just skin texture. Like, if you have gotten a tattoo, you put on a lot of weight, and then when you kind of like lose the weight, the lines of the tattoo are, sometimes you can feel them. They feel like a lot more bold and stand out if you were to just like rub your fingers over the tattoo. Okay, but that's like not really even what this video is about. This video is more about, and I might even include some photos of some of my tattoos. This video should probably be more about like what my first experience was like getting a tattoo. Also, like, okay, so topic that could be covered is judgment in the workplace. Okay, because I feel like I came from maybe a era of where if you had a tattoo, jobs just weren't going to hire you, to where things have changed and now almost everybody has a tattoo and nobody even cares if you have a tattoo. And even though I said that most of my tattoos are kind of covered, you can't see them because I have clothes on. Nowadays, people get tattoos like all over their hands, on their face, their neck, and so those are not usually something that can be covered up. Anyone can see those. And so I don't know if there are certain jobs out there nowadays that will choose to not hire you if you have visible tattoos. But I did apply for a job. I applied for a job that was a governmental job, and it had a pretty intense background check. And they were wanting information about my tattoos. They wanted to photograph any tattoos that I had. Some people might think, like, well, that seems like strange or like a violation of privacy. Or, what if you had one on your butt? You're going to show your boss your butt? Okay, well, I think that maybe they were looking for any tattoos that had to do with like gang symbols or any symbols that were like hate symbols. I think maybe they're looking for stuff like that. Maybe you would cover that up and not reveal that to your employer. I don't know. Honestly, when you ask, like, why are they even checking for this stuff? Why does it matter? It should really like be about how good of a worker you are and what your skill set is. I don't know. But there's a lot of things out there where they just, I guess they won't hire you if you are affiliated with certain things that they don't want their company brand to be affiliated with. Okay, so that's on them. They can choose to hire who they choose to hire, and I'm not here to debate on if someone should maybe you got a tattoo that was a poor decision when you were young and now you get older. I'm not going to debate if you should go ahead and get that removed or tattooed over or whatever. I feel like that's a personal decision for someone to make on their own. Sometimes people choose to keep those tattoos as a reminder of their stupidity of when they were younger and to not go back to that lifestyle or whatever. Okay, so I want to talk about the very first tattoo I got. Like I said, this is more aimed at people who work in tattoo shops. The very first tattoo I got, I was happy with. It was a very large tattoo. It was across my back. But what I did not like was the environment in which I got it done in. And I do believe the person who gave me the tattoo was a good artist. They did a good job, but they were working under some not so good environment in which the person who seemed to own the tattoo shop seemed to maybe have an anger problem. And so while he's, working on my back doing the tattoo, the owner of the shop would keep coming in and like yelling and slamming doors. And it was just like this very like hostile environment of where someone, when someone's like yelling and cussing and screaming and throwing things. And it was like, I wanted to leave. I didn't feel comfortable there. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel safe. I don't know why this person who was doing my tattoo chose to work in that sort of environment. I kind of didn't ever want to go back to that environment. Like I said, this has nothing to do with the tattoo artist or the tattoo, but it had to do with the environment that you're in. Why is that important? Well, it's like, okay, yeah, of course you want to be in a clean environment, but I also feel like sometimes getting a tattoo can kind of be stressful if you've never had one before. You don't know what to expect. It's sometimes painful, and no one wants to be in pain. And so when you have someone like screaming and acting the fool, it's kind of like, I don't want to be here. This is stressing me out. I don't need any additional stress. I've got needles going into me. So that I did not like. Now, if I was to follow up on that experience, like I mentioned, it was a very large tattoo across my back. It was not something that could be done all in one day. So what I did not like is after I had that appointment, I guess, and then, maybe for the good of it, the tattoo artist quit that shop. So like I said, that's probably a good thing because that was not a good shop. But that tattoo artist did not keep in touch with me, did not give me any information on how to find him so that he could finish the tattoo he started. And a lot of times if you go to other tattoo artists, they will not want to work on someone else's work, so they're not going to finish the job of somebody else. And so it was like, okay, well, now I have to find this artist that started my tattoo. Now I don't know where he is. I don't know where he works. I don't know what shop he's at. He has not kept in contact with me. You might think, well, why is that his job to keep into contact? Well, I mean, I wanted the tattoo to be finished. And so now I have to be like a private eye investigator trying to find this guy, trying to figure out what shop he's working at. That was frustrating. Well, so when I finally did track him down and I was able to follow up, and so now he's at a completely new shop. I had to make a completely new appointment. We had to work on it some more. And so at this point, we were still just doing like the outline on my back. We were going to add color later. But then it was kind of like so I'll just describe it. I had 2 different roses on my back. He colored in one rose, and then that was kind of like it for the day. We kind of ran out of time, and he said I would have to come back to color in the other rose. Okay, well then I guess he skipped town again, and he actually moved away. He wasn't even in the same city anymore. And so it was kind of like, well, am I going to like fly to some other city just to get this tattoo finished? And it was the same thing. Like I said, if I wanted to get the tattoo finished, for me to actually go to like another tattoo artist, most tattoo artists aren't going to finish the work of somebody else, because it's not something they started. They might do a cover up or something, or they might change the design in some way. But I just wanted it finished by the original person who did it. And so once again, it was all trouble trying to track this guy down. So when I said this video is aimed at you artists out there, when you're the customer and you were trying to get a tattoo finished and you have to track down, put out a manhunt for some tattoo artist just to get your tattoo finished, as you can imagine how I felt about that. So eventually, this is like spread out over, I'm going to say like almost 2 years of me trying to get this tattoo finished by this guy. And we haven't even moved on to the fact that I said I have about 30 more tattoos besides that one. But that was my very first experience getting a tattoo, and it probably was not the best experience, and it probably would have shaped me to decide if I ever wanted to get a tattoo ever again, knowing that this is what you have to go through to get a tattoo. Now, like I said, this was a very large tattoo across my back. But since then, most of the tattoos I've gotten are much smaller ones that can be completed in one day, so I don't have to like keep going back or keep having to track someone down. In particular, there was a tattoo that I got on my leg, something I am very happy about, but that was something where the goal of that was we were going to spend the whole day doing the outline, and then I would come back later and get the coloring. So that did have to be spread out over 2 days. Now, because of that, what they told me was we're going to get the outline done, and then I'm going to come back in a week to get the color. I don't think that was a good plan, because within a week, the outline had not even healed. It was still like scabbing and everything. And so to go back and start doing the color over this like swollen scabbing like tattoo that hadn't completely healed yet was extremely painful. And I think there should have been a much longer amount of time between the outline and the color to give that outline time to heal. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert on how tattoos should be done. This is just my opinion on how I felt as the customer. But anyone out there that is a tattoo artist that knows a little more about this, they can tell. Leave a comment about when's the best amount of time to wait between the outline healing and the color being done, or if you normally do work on someone who has not completely healed and is still scabbing over. Because, like I said, I'm not the expert. I'm only telling you how I feel as the customer, as someone who had to sit through the pain. Let's talk about one more topic, which has to do with tattoo artists that seem to be very like uppity, like they're too good for you, or they only tattoo on elite clients and you're just not, elite enough or special enough. I've definitely had this where if you see a tattoo artist that's advertising online and they kind of like post photos of their work and you're like, wow, this person's really great, I'd like to make an appointment with them. I've had where I've tried to reach out to a tattoo artist to ask if I could make an appointment, and they would say like, oh, well, I'm completely booked for the next year, so maybe I can get you in next year. It's like, wow, you must be like a really great tattoo artist if you're booked out for the next year. Okay. And then you start to think, is that how all tattoo artists are? Because, I've been going to shops where they'll just take a walk-in, right? You walk in, you tell them what you want, or you pick something out that they've already got drawn out, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Okay, but then these people are like, oh, you're going to have to put a $5,000 down deposit, and I'll see you a year and a half from now. It's not like cosmetic surgery. Maybe it is to some people. But sometimes I think like, well, you know what? If you're too good for me, then I think I'm just going to go find someone else. But I do believe that, it makes sense to go and book a consultation with a tattoo artist to kind of go over what it is you're interested in, and then leave a deposit up front so they know that you're serious, so that before they start drawing it, sketching it out for you and working and putting all that time in for you, you've already paid them a little bit money up front. And of course, it's always good to tip once your tattoo is finished. But I have gone and done these consultations where I meet with someone and, either I've seen a drawing that they've already advertised as they're looking to do that as a tattoo, or maybe I have my own idea of what I would like to get done. But usually I, give them my ideas and then they sketch it out. It's never been something where I drew my own tattoo and expected them to copy it exactly as my drawing was. I'm usually going off of their artistic capability, because if they have done a drawing that I like and I want to get that tattooed, it looks really cool. But I have met with someone, they looked at me and they said that they're very particular about the bodies they tattoo on, because the body they tattoo on is like a billboard for their work. And so they told me that I just didn't have the right body or look that they were going for, and that, they didn't want to do a tattoo on me because, I'd be a poor representation of them as an artist. And they had a whole, nice, rude way of saying it, saying that, they didn't like my body or my skin type, or I don't know what it is, but obviously they just didn't want to do a tattoo on me. I left feeling insulted. I don't know if because they thought I was fat, or I didn't have smooth enough skin, or whatever it was that they were looking for to complete their elitist agenda of who they want to tattoo on. Sometimes I think these people must not want to make money, because, I just feel like isn't it your job to like do tattoos, whether you like me as a person or not? To just refuse work, that's fine. That's up to you. You can refuse work just like I can go to my job and refuse to do my job as well. We're all entitled to that. But I left kind of obviously feeling bad about myself, because I thought like, well, screw that lady, that's what she thinks of me. Like, she ain't so hot herself. That's kind of like how I left that experience. And I also just thought, once again, is this how it is? Is this how all artists are? Even though I've had my experience with multiple artists, it makes me think like, if that had been my first time getting a tattoo, and then I thought, oh, well, this must just be how it is to get a tattoo these days, that would probably put me off and make it so that I'd never come back or ever want to get a tattoo after that. So please, for the people out there that do this for a living, please keep in mind what it's like to be the customer in this situation. Now, maybe you do want your customer to feel like absolute crap. I mean, that lady sure did a good job. She made me feel like crap, all right. And I will probably always badmouth that tattoo shop, that artist, and that's how it goes, right? It's all fair play. Thank you for watching my video today. Sometimes doing these videos is my way of just getting out my frustrations, but also I just feel like if there was any way I could help, and by help I mean not to just like go on and on about stuff, but to help anyone, like say if you are a tattoo artist and you would like to make a lot more money or drum up business, you'd probably want to work in a nice, safe, comfortable environment. You would probably want to always keep in touch with your clients. If you're going to hop from shop to shop or skip town, I mean, it'd be nice to let your clients know what's going on. And of course, I feel like there always seems to be artists out there that are just like, oh, I really want to do work, but nobody ever comes into the shop. Well, I feel like sometimes you have to actually like reach out. Like, I know it's the customer that needs to reach out to the artist to request something done, but I feel like you need to put yourself out there as well. You need to like let people know what days you're available, what kind of hours you work, what kind of work you're looking to do, and reach out to people, because I just feel like sometimes there's people like me that are maybe extra shy. We don't feel comfortable just going into a tattoo shop and start asking a bunch of questions. People that are very like reserved and intimidated by the whole experience. I feel like you need to like walk us through the process. Us people that don't know anything about tattoos, you need to hold our hands through the process. I don't believe the customer is always right. You're the artist. You're in charge. That should come with like being kind and not being like rude or uppity or snobbish or elitist about what it is you do. I think that's where I'll wrap this up. I am very happy with some of my tattoos, and I'd be happy to show you some photos of them. But feel free to leave a comment about what you think about this whole topic. Thank you.